Hi and welcome to Geography Geeks with Mr. Mercer. In this video tutorial we're going to deal with urban site and situation. Typical exam question here would ask for the main reasons behind a settlement's site and or its situation. Typical mark value, probably 6 or 7 marks. It's nice to have a case study up your sleeve, and I would use Edinburgh. However, don't be shy to use examples from other cities that you may know about, because there's not really one city that has every example of site and situation attached to it, as you'll see when we explain this. So, in front of you can see a cartoon, and in the centre of that cartoon is a hill with a castle, and that's where we start, really. The best example is, of course, Edinburgh Castle, and this is built on a crag and tail. In case you don't know what that is, it's a volcanic plug of rock with a long sloping hillside leading off of it. Now that hillside leads to only one route of approach, making it an excellent defensive site, steep on all sides except for one sloping approach. Now that would mean that the local people would naturally want to live near to the defence and near to the seat of power. Kings would often build castles in strategic defensive locations in order to extend their power. So good defensive sites became a very powerful motivation to build a settlement. Local hills, such as the Pentlands, funneled traders and travellers between the hills and the coastline. Therefore, setting Edinburgh in between the hills and the coastline made sense because lots of business would pass through there. Other landscape features such as meanders have a powerful influence. Meander is an excellent defensive site because you can only attack it from one direction. A good example of this would be at Tewkesbury. It very famously gets cut off completely when the river floods. Rivers also provide a local water source, and if you've got a floodplain, then that makes a lot of sense because it's nice and flat and easy to build on. And also that would provide nice fertile soil to grow things on. So you've got a nice reliable local food source. Speaking of local resources, in the early days of settlement growth, having a forest nearby would be very important. And that would be for reasons of finding food and timber. However, as societies industrialized, the local resources that were more important changed, and good examples of those would be coal and iron ore. And you can imagine how the Welsh cities, such as Cardiff and Swansea, their early growth was dependent upon those local resources. Large rivers, think the Thames here, would provide a trade route, and a river mouth further downstream would give access to foreign trade, providing a powerful motivation to set your city up in that location. Locating on a flat valley floor, imagine Stirling here, perhaps with a bridging point over the river is really important because trade will naturally move along the flat floors of valleys and will need to cross the river, so being close to bridging points is also a very important reason because you'll get lots of traders passing by. Now, many of these reasons refer to historical contexts, but don't forget to mention modern day factors too. So for example, you could put the context of flat land into a modern setting. Flat land is still important. You could put the context of being near fertile soils, because that's still important. You could put the context of being near to foreign markets into the context of the modern day, because that's still a relevant factor. However, hills and castles for defensive reasons, these are really historical factors, so make sure you make that very clear in your answer so there's no confusion. You will find there are other reasons in your notes, but these are the basics. I hope you found that helpful, and if you've got any questions, come find me in class.